Hi, my name is Molly Rose Morgan, and I graduated from SDC in 2016. The topic for this week is vision and intentionality. The main thing that I think about when I think about vision is when I first started going to SDC in 2012, which was a long time ago now, the main thing that I didn't have for my life was a vision. I didn't have any direction in my life. I didn't have a biblical worldview, which meant that I didn't see the world from God's perspective or through the perspective of Scripture. I was kind of just wandering aimlessly through life. I didn't really have a purpose, and I was pretty depressed, honestly, because I just didn't know what to do with my life. I kind of think of like a pinball, like pinging back and forth to all these different things, but wasn't really finding fulfillment or satisfaction in anything. And then I went to SDC, and I really learned what it meant to see the world through a biblical perspective or a biblical worldview. The Lord had to teach me a lot of like really hard lessons about dying to myself. When it says in Scripture that you need to die to yourself, it's literally that. It's a death. And that means that you lay down your hopes and your dreams and your visions and your goals at the feet of Christ, and you say, Lord, do with me whatever you want, whatever plans you have, that's what I want. And so there's this point where you have to reach, and I want to encourage you guys about this. There's an integrity gap if what you say you believe is different than how you live your life. So if God is calling you to do one thing, but you're like, God, this doesn't really match up to how I wanted my life to look. If you're not willing to merge those two together, then I really just would question what you really believe. And I think SDC is a great place to really learn how to embrace God's plans for our lives. So I want to talk to you guys about living a life of vision and intentionality. So if you're living your life with vision and intentionality, it means that you realize that the plans that God has for you, you're going to actually have to take some action with those. So for example, if you're like, I want to get in better shape, you're not just going to say, oh Lord, like make me stronger, make me healthier. You're going to pray, Lord, help me on this journey because it's going to be hard. But at the same time, you're willing to work out, you're willing to eat healthier. Some of you guys want to be pastors. You're not just going to say, Lord, make me a pastor. You're going to say, Lord, make me a pastor, and then you're going to go to a church that you're plugged in with and say, I want to intern and I want to volunteer. I want to learn what it takes to be a pastor. With a lot of you guys, you want good, solid friends in college. Community is huge here. You're going to hear that word so many times at SDC. Community, community, community. It's everywhere. But community isn't just about convenience. And especially with being done with college, you're going to want to know how to have intentional friendships because you're not going to be seeing the people every single day. So how do you have intentional friendships? You decide to reach out to those people. You ask them how they're doing. You carve out time to just spend with them. It's not just about whatever's easiest or most convenient. It's always going to take extra time and effort and energy to have intentional friendships. So what does it look like to have a vision for your life? It means that you're trying things, you're closer to what God has called you to be, and as you get closer to the Lord, I promise you the vision for your life will become clearer. But how are you going to know what you're made to do if you don't have a relationship with the person that made you? God made you, and you can't know what you're made to do without knowing God. So as I've gotten closer to the Lord, and after graduating SDC a couple years ago now, it's crazy, I'm a lot closer to what God made me to do because I've tried things, because I've tried certain jobs, and I'm like, wow, this is really not me. This is not what God has made me to do. And then there's some things where I call it a sweet spot, where you're like, wow, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. And I know that God has made me to do this. And I promise you guys that as you try things, and you might fail some, God is going to start leading you closer to His vision for your life. But along the way, you might need to let go some of your own visions that you might have had for your life. It might look different. God has such good plans for you guys. But if you're not willing to live with intentionality and you're not willing to live with vision, then it's going to be increasingly difficult to start to lay hold of who God has created you to be, who God has meant you to be. So as you guys meet with your alpha groups today, I really want to encourage you guys, talk about your dreams, talk about your goals. Maybe be honest and vulnerable about some areas where you might need to be more intentional in the future to get to where God might want you to be. I'm really excited for whatever God has planned for you guys.